Hey folks, welcome back. Here we have yet another Gibson headstock break.
Help me! Help me!
Oh dear. This one has a very large fracture that's pretty tight. The customer's not so much concerned with how it looks in this case, but rather concerned with the structural integrity and how it feels to the touch. I think we could do both, plus make it a little less visible without going nuts on refinishing the whole thing. Start with getting some glue into the crack, but because the crack's so tight, it'll require thinning down the glue a little bit to ensure that we get full penetration all the way down into the fissure. I'll be using regular Titebond for this. It's more than adequate for the job and thins out nicely with a little bit of water. Thinning it down will increase the workable time and help allow it to flow deep into the crack as possible. The next part you're about to see might be a little traumatic for some, but here in the shop it's just another normal everyday thing. You gotta do what you gotta do in order to achieve a good solid repair. In this case, it means thinning the glue a bit and allowing gravity and physics to help out. By clamping the instrument upright, I'm able to flex the brake open and really work in as much of the glue into the crack as I possibly can. I'll apply fresh glue several times until I'm completely convinced that the brake will not accept any more glue. Since the aliphatic glue dries with a lighter color, it might make the crack show up a little bit more. I add some red dye to the glue and work that into the crack as well. I made a wide, flat clamping caul that I ground down on the belt sander to conform to the shape of the neck so it applies pressure evenly over the whole damaged area. Even though my main clamp is pretty hefty, I'm going to add a couple more clamps on either side to ensure even pressure throughout the entire glue joint. Okay, so far so good. Although I do wish that I used a little more dye in the glue. You don't want to make it too dark either, since that can also make the crack show up more. I always try to aim for about the same darkness as the finish. I'm going to lay a damp tourniquet to the leftover squeeze out. If I try to pry off the blobs with my fingernail, there's a good chance that the glue will pull off some of the finish in the process. I've had that happen before. We don't want more work for ourselves than absolutely necessary. There is a hairline crack still visible from the glue. I'm going to apply some full-strength red dye while the glue is still a little moist. I've mixed up a little nitro lacquer with the same cherry red dye. It's a good time to spot check the area and chase down any other little dings or whatnot with some drop fills. Okay, it's been a couple of days. Time to wet sand. I'll start with 600 grit and work my way up to 2000 grit. We should be able to buff it out now without any issues. I have the buffer running at about 9,000 RPM. I'm using Manzerna compounds. Time to string this baby up and get it back to its owner. You can still see the crack a little, but it feels smooth to the touch. If the customer was willing to spend a little bit more, I could have made it completely disappear, but I think he'll be quite happy with it. There's nothing to stop him from bringing it back in down the road and having me do the additional spray booth work, but it's solid and feels good to the touch. Well, that's it. Thanks for watching. As always, if you enjoy these videos, go ahead and subscribe, like, and comment. God bless.
Help me! Help me!